The GDP reading coming in a moment ago showing growth of 0.5% in the first quarter. Up 0.6% is a disappointment. The expectations range from up 0.6% to up 0.7%. We get the news for the first quarter GDP right now, up 0.5%, 0.5% is the number. Michael Jones, your reaction to this number?
I think everybody expected the first quarter to be a relatively big disappointment. Capital spending really collapsed. We talked about in the earlier segment with corporate spreads widening out. There was a lot of activity that just simply couldn't happen with the credit markets in disarray. So I think the markets are probably likely to look through this number and ask, will the second quarter be an acceleration?
Yeah, it's usually a backward-looking number, but nonetheless, Dagan McDowell, 0.5% in terms of growth tells you really where we are in this economy, and it is not great.
And it's an economy that can't get up, it can't start moving ahead. 10 years of sub 3% growth, 10 years in a row. And it has Washington. Again, it comes back to D.C. Have they made it easier to operate a business and start a business and run one and live your life and keep what you earn? And the answer is no, and no, and no, and no.
Absolutely.
As somebody who founded a business 8 years ago, I can tell you no, no, and no.
Right.
It's been really, really hard.
So what is the hardest part for you as a small business owner? Is it because of the regulatory environment?
The regulatory environment is incredibly tough. The tax environment is incredibly tough. The amount of cash that has to be drained off. And, you know, we are the job creation engines of this country.
And access to capital. Difficult.
Yeah. All good points.
President Obama has imposed from the White House more regulations that are significant economically than the prior two presidents who were in there for two terms. More than Bill Clinton, more than George Bush, and he's not even done yet.
Right.
He's got a lot more regulations on deck that he's trying to pass in the next several weeks.
Came out with the inversions rulemaking.
And he uses it as a weapon.
Yeah.
That going after the Allergan-Pfizer deal, they are using tax regulation essentially as a weapon to stop something that they found distasteful that was happening because of regulation.
Yeah, so no surprise that we see a GDP in the first quarter this morning up 0.5%. That is where we are right now.
But we're not talking about recession.
No, it's true.
Not.
The recession fears have faded. It's true.
Jobless claims were just announced, and it was another absolutely spectacularly good number for jobless claims. So
up 9,000, yep.
Yeah, so what we're seeing here is a continuation of what we've seen throughout the Obama administration. Growth is anemic, but it's not recessionary.
Yeah, but just let's not forget, Michael, we're talking about 0.5% compared to 1.4%. Right. We thought 1.4% was horrible. Okay? If you think 1.4% is horrible, what do you think about 0.5%?